Hello? I can't hear anything now. I can't hear anything. Why is this not working? I don't know why. Are you talking on the phone? Hey, everybody. How are you guys doing? Good.
He's on here as well. He said, hey. So, Brooks,
Is that your phone or mine?
we're having technical difficulties today.
What is it?
Hit mute on your computer.
What in the world? Oh, hey, everybody. How are you guys doing? Yeah, hey, so my name is Brooks Schaeffer. I've been in the insurance industry now over 20 years. I've been working with my dad. We do home, auto, life, commercial insurance, everything basically except health insurance. And I'm just going to kind of go over a few things with the homeowners products that we offer, since you guys are, real estate agents. That's kind of what you deal with the most. Um, Starting off, there's a couple different policies that exist in the state of North Carolina. There's a HO3 and a HE7. The HO3 is a basic homeowners policy. It's actual cash value, which means that, say you have a roof claim with Allstate or somebody that offers a HO3. The way that works is, if your home was built in 2010 and you had a roof that was $20,000 at that point, sorry. What happens is, as you go to file your claim, you will get half of that $20,000 minus your deductible. Erie sells what's called a HE7 plus 21. It's going to be a guaranteed replacement cost, which means that you're never going to have to pay anything out of pocket for a roof except your deductible. The other thing is, too, now with the cost of building going up, there's what's called a guaranteed replacement cost, which means if your house is insured at $430,000, sorry, I keep hearing the echo. And you have a total house fire, and say it costs $535 to rebuild your home. A lot of companies sell a policy that are going to cover over 25% over the dwelling cost, and then after that 25%, you're going to have to pay out of pocket. Erie sells a HE7 100% guaranteed replacement. They're going to replace that house for whatever it costs to rebuild it, no matter what the insurance cost is. There's a lot of different things too. You get $50,000 in sewer and water backup, which is not in an HO3 policy. The other thing is too, with selling that, is you get a guaranteed replacement on the roof. You get $50,000 in sewer and water backup. I had a buddy of mine that moved his insurance to Allstate and had a sewer and water backup, which was not covered by them. Erie would have covered that policy up to $50,000. He ended up coming out of pocket, I think, 43 grand. So it's always a good thing to take a look at your policies every year. Prices go up every year. There's always going to be rate increases. Claims in North Carolina, the way that works is 2 claims in 3 years with a standard company, they will cancel your insurance, and then that will require you to have insurance force placed on you, which is usually double the cost on something like that. Which is also a good thing about knowing who your agent is, so then you can always just reach out and ask these questions along the way. Are there any questions you guys have for me, or stuff that you have, might help you guys with the selling point? I keep hearing an echo. It catches me off guard.
There I am.
There you are.
Can you hear me?
I can't.
James is in the chat. You can't hear me. Okay. So I got to down phone. He's in the chat. So over here.
All right.
Okay. Question for you on deductible. How much does that usually range for people?
So there's 250, 500, 1,000, 2,500. Now they offer 5,000 and 10,000. So 1,000 is usually standard. Nowadays with new home builds, what I try to tell people to do is to take a higher deductible because you have a less chance of having a claim with everything being brand new. Because what happens is you file, say you have a $3,000 claim, you have $1,000 deductible, you get $2,000 from that. The next year you have a total loss, house fire or something of that sort. That's 2 claims in 3 years. You're looking at getting canceled at that point. And a lot of people don't realize when you get canceled by a company like that, your insurance doubles, sometimes triples. Just depends. But $1,000 is usually what most people take.
Okay. So somebody asked the name of your company is Erie, correct?
We're Schaeffer Insurance. We broker for about 15 different companies, but Erie is who we mainly use.
Here, I'm going to put your link in there. So
Yeah.
do you, when people come in, do you just bid out their stuff or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have a system that we can run each quote through and it brokers through all the different companies we have.
Okay.
So I'm always searching for the most competitive rate, but also I've done this long enough now to know that coverages are more important once you start accumulating assets and things of that sort. Different generations look at things differently. The younger generation looks at price. The older generation looks at protecting their assets and, a 16-year-old driver you put onto a new policy, a parent's going to want to add an umbrella policy to make sure that they have the extra $1 million of coverage over their auto and their homeowner's policy. There's a lot to it. It's something that really needs to be looked at as much as possible. I mean, people should really take a look at it when they can.
Do you get any discounts being a first-time home buyer?
So not necessarily with the first-time home buyer stuff, but nowadays, if you don't write your home and auto together, you're not going to get the most competitive rates that you can get. They have safe driver discounts, stuff like that, multiple car discounts, home alarm discounts. If it's a new home, if it's a brand new home, there's always going to be a little bit of a discount with that. But most of your stuff's going to come between multi-policies.
Okay. So if you have, basically you can combine your home and car insurance is what you're saying. So when you go to buy a home, what if you have car insurance with another company and it's not expiring yet?
So the easiest thing to do, what was that, Casey? I'm sorry.
So you know how your car insurance renews each year? What if it's not coming up on a renewal?
So it depends on what company you're with. Some companies, if you cancel early, will charge a short rate penalty, which is about 10% of whatever the remainder of the premium is. So say if you pay $1,200 a year, you have 9 months left on your policy, there's $800 left, you pay $80 to cancel. A lot of times it's worth doing because the discount will be more than, you'll save more by putting them together than leaving it the way it is.
Okay.
And so, I mean, a lot of times if it doesn't, I just tell people keep your auto where it's at. And then when it renews, we'll move to that with it.
Makes sense. So, okay. And so when you're buying a house, okay, I've got, for this instance, I have a contract going in tonight on a house at the beach. And what do you typically see in flood zones? So when it says, we saw a sheet of paper that said $648 annually, is that all the insurance or is that in addition to another insurance?
Flood insurance is always going to be additional. It's a federal policy. So flood insurance is going to usually be the same based off of, it's going to be based off of the dwelling amount, but it's a federally run program. So so you're going to have a separate home and a separate flood. Flood's usually pretty cheap.
Yeah, I was going to say
depending on where it is.
pretty cheap. That's like 52 or 54 extra. Don't quote me on my math. Extra dollars a month for him.
Yeah, and you have to be in a flood zone to actually qualify to get flood insurance.
There and intercoastal.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah, beach insurance has gotten really crazy. The wind and hail is what's super expensive, and there's good companies that offer all that packaged together instead of having to write, the JUA and then write a home somewhere else. There's companies now that'll write the wind and the hail and the dwelling at the same policy. So it gives you a much cheaper rate.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So next question. I know a lot of people do Airbnbs, and we actually have a section that they were on here, Moxie Property Rentals.
Yeah.
I'm working very closely with them, and you met them as far as Airbnbs go, do you give discounts if you have multiple properties with you, or is it just each go as depending on the location?
So there's always going to be discounts when you have multi policies. The good thing is I just realized we just started doing some stuff with Airbnbs. Erie will cover fixing an Airbnb if something happens, and they do have liability on the policy. Also, a lot of places, if you have a homeowner's policy or a landlord's policy, they're not all going to cover Airbnb. Like there's some companies that don't. So if you're dealing with somebody that's never done it before, make sure that the company they call realizes that that's what they're doing, because if they don't have any liability coverage, they're in trouble.
Okay. So that leads me to my next question. Well, does anybody else have any questions? I'm rolling the questions.
Yeah,
out.
No, y'all go right ahead. Ask away.
I'm working with a client. I've been stacking these up, and I'm actually sending him Brooks's way later. Yeah. So the price point on Airbnbs, what did that usually start out as being investment, not like your property?
It just depends. We wrote a guy in Lake Gaston. Now it was $1 million home that we wrote, so it was on the more expensive end. But for him to have coverage for his Airbnb and the house, thinking it was close to probably $3,500 a year for that. But that also covered the dwelling also, not just the liability. And so it's, basically it depends on what the dwelling amount of the home is going to be a part of the price too.
Okay. And if you're a flipper, such as Adam and myself, what, as far as insurance go, I think you did maybe our first one, maybe.
We may have.
As far as that goes, has anything changed as far as what would you carry if you were going to be flipping a home and you're going to be hopefully selling that thing within 3 to 6 months?
I would put it in a vacant property, and then there's an endorsement you can add that will give you coverage for all the equipment and, plywood and things like that. It's usually $1,500 a year. And the good thing is with Erie is you don't have to pay it all up front. You can set it up on monthlies.
Let's say, like I said, if it's a flip, you hopefully are going to be in and out of that thing in at worst case scenario, 6 months. Do you get reimbursed on that if you pay it all up front?
If you pay it all up front,
and you
then
sell
they will refund it.
On the house in January, you do renovations, everything, you finish them around about March. It's on the market and they close by May for the remainder of the year. So you do get that check back.
Yeah, you do get that check back. honestly, what we've started to do is to set it up monthly. So
Mhm.
when it ends, it's just the policy is just done. You're making monthly payments when when the property closes.
Yeah.
There's no refund check. You're not out. You know, you don't have to pay the whole 1,500.
Yeah, you don't have to. Okay. Okay.
And some people do with closing costs. It just depends. I mean, how they decide to do that.
Okay. And I feel like I'm hopping all around as far as investments go. What um so you're getting a loan. You have to have insurance, correct?
Correct.
So what is it that makes you stand out amongst I mean, I've had that personal relationship with you, and I know you're great because you covered some of our bars and stuff, which I know can be a pain. That's like a whole nother animal for
Yeah.
another. Not everybody wants to be crazy and do that world. So, as Adam does. So, I guess for people that have multiple businesses, such as ourselves, do you do like bundles, like
So
where you could do the
if
house and all of our investment properties and the dealership, everything all into one?
so it's each policy is going to be set up separately unless say you have an LLC that has multiple properties under it. Then we'd write it under the LLC, which would list, 4 or 5 different locations. If you had a
Yeah.
restaurant,
So,
no, it's not a good idea. It's
not
better to do it
separate. That way, if something happens to one, yeah. So, if not,
exactly.
yeah, so I'm not gonna go down.
And then with businesses, like if you have a restaurant, if it's in different LLCs, they all have to be written separately.
Okay. So back to what makes you stand out as far as when say it's a first time home buyer like my guy today, and he's getting a conventional loan, so he's got to have insurance before he goes. Everybody would, I would hope you'd want, even if you're paying cash, would want to put insurance on the property.
Yeah.
But there are some people out there next to him. Wow,
You'd
on
be
the
surprised. Yeah.
wild.
But
And
people take their chances.
so not one of them. But as far as that goes, so what would make you stand out?
I mean, honestly, the thing that we do best is and people who've done business with us is customer service. I mean, we've got close to 6,000 clients, and I would imagine probably 98% of them have our cell phones. And the other thing is too is, when you call me for a claim, I mean, for a quote, that's the first thing I do, no matter what it is I'm doing. New business is always going to come first. I'm going to reach out to the mortgage lender. I'm going to give you the best product that I have to offer. And, I mean, ask James, he's done business with us. You guys have done business with us. I mean, I believe in personal relationships,
Mhm.
and
Always in this business.
it does. And I want to make sure that people know that no matter what, that we're always going to have their back. The customer's the most important.
So a lot of our viewers and people that follow us on Mondays that come on, a lot of them are from Texas because Holly
Cool.
is from Texas, and she, my co-host, I guess the question is, can you help people in Texas as well, or are you just strictly North Carolina? Or do
I'm
you,
strictly North Carolina. I don't know if Erie is in Texas or not. There's a select few states that they are. But what I can tell you is find a good independent agent who owns the agency. That works there daily. My dad's 66 and he still works every single day. And work not if as hard as I do, or maybe harder, but I mean, I think that's what keeps him going, and he loves what he does. But it makes a difference when somebody owns it, not just an agent that sells for someone.
Mhm. So we give lots of tips and hacks on here. I know we got lost a little bit later, but Can you tell me one tip at what you just did, find an independent agent, but do you have another one as far as when people are shopping and they're overwhelmed by everything? What's one thing that can make their life easier?
Uh,
Because I've heard horror stories. My friends just went through it as far as insurance goes. People trying to get kickbacks and things like that, and pushing them towards certain agents and that kind of thing. So, basically, what can they do to protect or prevent that from happening, and make it easy and be like, okay, that was a great experience.
the thing that I tell most people is to find somebody that you trust and ask them who they used. I mean, really, if somebody refers you to us,
Mhm.
I mean, we close probably 98% of the deals, and our retention rate is 92%.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I try to use, like, if I wanted to buy a house, I would call you. I said, Casey, who do I use for a mortgage? Or,
Me
who
or
do I use to, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's just finding somebody that you trust
Mhm.
is the main thing. Nowadays everybody's can tell you what you want to hear, but it's all about action.
Yes, very true,
You
very true.
know,
How about a hack? What kind of hack do you have for us?
what kind of hack?
Yeah, like
Like a life hack?
yeah, a life hack at real estate.
uh, um, I don't know. That's a good question. It's a good hack. I mean, insurance wise, there's really no way to hack it because you have to follow the rules. There's no there's no way to beat the system in the insurance industry.
Make sure you get it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can never be overinsured, but you can always be underinsured. You should definitely find an agent that will take the time to explain to you what insurance really is and what it means, because when something happens, I promise you will be very happy that you have somebody that took the time to explain to you, or that will take the time to explain to you when the time comes for you to go through a claim or in a situation where you really need their expertise.
Okay, yeah. Um, so we've talked about homes. We have some commercial people on here. I know Phyllis and myself, as you know, I
So,
do commercial. So as far as buildings go, is insurance based on building size? Is it based on the business that's going in there? Is it, let's say there's a difference between lease and owning the building. I know that. So if, let's say someone's leasing out a spot, what is required of them as far as property insurance? What would you tell them that they would need?
depending on what their landlord requests for them to carry,
Mhm.
most of the time when it's a lease, you're just required for personal property.
If you're a landlord and you've never bought a building in your life and you all of a sudden decide to get
Oh,
wild,
if I was the landlord and I was going to rent to somebody.
you answered that question, but it led me into another question.
Gotcha. Okay.
So let's say I decided to buy a building tomorrow and I'm putting tenants in there and there's, let's say, 6 spots. What would be required?
Uh,
What would you say to protect me as far as requiring my tenants to get their own insurance policy?
I would make sure that you have general liability and workers' comp insurance from each business that's in there.
Mhm.
And depending on,
'Cause I know
liability is the main concern. I mean, really, you want to make sure you're covered in case somebody gets hurt or something like that. But the good thing about work comp is they can't come back on you with their audits at the end of the year if they have any of that stuff.
mhm.
But I would definitely make sure that they have general liability and workers' comp insurance of their own, because then
Okay,
that keeps away from being able to come after you.
okay, because I know some people want you to hold up to a $2 million policy or $1 million.
They can, and you can get up to $2 million to $5 million umbrellas.
Mhm.
It's just based off of what your landlord is requiring you to carry. If
Okay.
I was a landlord, I would go 2 million. I would require them to carry an umbrella.
Okay. So that's going to swing me back around to, I didn't mean to turn tonight into like investment night, but
No, it's fine.
that's the direction I took it. That's what happens, Hallie, when you give me control. You see my niche. So, like, I have a renter in we have renters in all 4 of our rental properties. What would you require them? Because I require them to hold their own insurance. Like, I have my insurance on the property, but I require them to hold their own. So what would you require for that?
So for them, all they need is a renter's policy. Now, for you, are they in LLCs or their personal name?
A personal name, one of them, and the other ones are in LLCs.
Okay, so what I would do is put them all in an LLC.
Adam's are in LLC. Mine's in a personal name. So
okay, so yours, you can write a personal umbrella policy, which would then give you an extra $1 million over your personal home, your personal auto, and then your landlord's. So the other thing is people don't realize you're given $300,000 in liability per home. It's $4 a year more to add from 300 to $1 million, and that's just the basic home policy. Yeah,
that's a hack right there.
There you go. Okay, there you go. That's a good one. People don't realize you can get it for an extra.
Yeah,
exactly. And then say you get an umbrella, then you have $1 million. You have $2 million in coverage instead of $1,300,000.
Okay, so yeah.
But I would definitely, if you're doing that, I would carry a commercial umbrella too. But I would add all your liabilities from 300,000 to $1 million on each one of your policies. I mean, as soon as you guys get a chance, if I were you, because
I need to go back and look at mine. So
$30 a year.
I felt like, and I know a lot of other people, the reason why I'm asking these questions, it's things that I should slow down and ask. And I wish I would have when I was getting my house.
They don't realize it until.
And I'm a realtor, and it's the first property I've ever personally bought, the first home I purchased on my own. And it was like a whirlwind. I remember being overwhelmed, and I'm still trying to work. And then they're asking these questions. And I'm sure every single person I work with as clients, they all probably feel the same way. So
the other good thing is, I wrote a guy recently who owns a couple rental properties, and he's hiring a property maintenance company to do work for him, but they require you to carry $1 million in liability to do the work.
Yeah.
I just found out that Erie is one of the only companies that'll give you $1 million of liability on a landlord policy. So just in case if anybody runs into that, there is ways of, and companies that do offer $1 million in coverage. So don't let them tell you that they don't, or, that a lot of agents sometimes don't want to take the time to do it.
Do your job. Chop.
Yeah, exactly. So, I would definitely, you definitely need to get $1 million on your stuff as soon as possible. Let me look at it when you get a chance, and I'll tell you what to do.
I'll send it over to you. So, and I had another question. Types of businesses. Is some businesses more? I think I know the answer to this. Just being multiple, but is some businesses, say a bar compared to an office space and compared to a car dealership? I mean, would like the prices on those?
So we do all kinds of stuff. I do a lot of stuff in the trucking industry, dump trucks, long hauls. That's very expensive. There's a lot of liability in that. Bars are, you don't serve food at your places, do you? So it's a substandard market based off of alcohol sales. So it just depends. I mean, there's so many companies with so many different rates these days. Liquor liability rates is the thing that you really need to look for, because that's where you can find companies that are, half of others,
Mhm.
which that's a huge thing to look for when you guys get ready to start doing your stuff.
Mhm.
Car dealerships, Erie loves them. They like that market. There's there's great premium in it, and a lot of times there's not a lot of losses,
Mhm.
believe it or not. I mean, most of the time people fix their cars at places like that, so that if things happen, they do the work themselves. But each business is going to be rated differently. Car dealerships range from 3,000 to 20, depending on how many dealer tags and inventory they have.
Mhm.
I have a trucking company that pays 150,000 a year to do their stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. And and if anybody that's on here has any questions, get my information from Casey. I'll be more than happy to help. Texas is different than North Carolina.
I'm going to put your
So
Instagram name in there as well, so that way they can
yeah,
see your Instagram. Follow him on Instagram.
follow me.
Yes.
Do you guys have any other questions or?
Let's see here. You've answered a ton of these questions, so
Yeah.
but we're coming up towards the end. So, um, what else can you share with us about your company, your personal company? Like,
Family owned.
what made you do this? So we kind of did this backwards tonight. We usually start with that, but the whole technology
Yeah.
threw me off.
My dad was in the janitorial business for 25 years or so and did really well. And we had some friends that had mentioned to us about getting into insurance, and we didn't take it real serious at first. And we got into Allstate. And it's funny because my dad lost his job because he couldn't pass his finance test at the time. So he opened up an independent agency and went to Erie, and Erie told him that he would never be an agent. And then looking back, here we are 30 years later, and we're like the fourth or fifth largest agency around town. So it all works out. It's
Never say never to people.
exactly. They're not me, at least. uh,
I hold a life insurance license.
do you?
Mhm.
It took me 15 times to pass that test.
I got that one the first time. My real estate exam was a whole nother exam.
I know I didn't do real well with the test,
Yeah, but
but
yeah, I don't do much with it, but as in like hardly anything. I just keep it active or keep it.
you might as well. You
Yeah,
went through it.
exactly. So, so anyway,
Other than that, we're family owned and operated, and I mean,
you guys have been open for 30 years, you said. How many years have
my
you been?
dad's. I've been doing this since I was out of high school. I'm 41 now, so 23 years.
23 years.
It's a long time.
It is a long time.
If you'd asked me when I was 18 if I was going to be an insurance agent still, I would have told you you're crazy.
Yeah. Lots of people whose homes you've saved in cars. So,
I have tried to.
bank accounts, we should say.
Exactly.
Where to save a bank account. Save your home and save your house. In your bank account. So,
Hey guys, do you have anything?
so. But if you have any questions, we can also, I'm going to drop your phone number in there as well.
Okay.
And that way, if they have any questions, they can always text you. What do you think? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
However, call. I'm more of a talk person, so texting is fine though.
So,
Email is not the fastest way.
email's not the fastest. I'll have to remember.
Uh,
So, Well, Brooks, we really appreciate you being on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So are you coming to, I was going to announce tonight, we have the soft opening this coming weekend of Split, what used to be the old Seagrace, 407 Glenwood. We will, Thursday night's our first night. So if anybody's
Sweet.
swing through and say you heard about it on here on Monday night on Hallie and I's show. And my purse I was talking about last week, it was returned. Big shout out to Morgan, who works at Vidrio. She returned it to me.
Awesome.
They are good people in this world. So, but I do have a new driver's license on the way and credit card. Hey, do you insure purses or things?
Yeah, they do.
So
you can add it onto your homeowner's policy.
So what's the craziest thing you've ever added on to a homeowner's policy?
I haven't actually done anything crazy, but I had a buddy of mine that insured a guy's jewelry's policy, and he had a chain that was about $350,000.
Is it for like Jay-Z?
He was an NFL football player.
Okay.
And the only reason I remember it is because there was only one place that would do it, but it was I was kind of amazed. I didn't know you could insure that kind of thing. I mean, I knew you could insure jewelry, but not that. People can't insure dogs.
Rocky, actually, we need to do that.
You should. I know. I just had to let my guy go. He was 18.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So what's the biggest policy you ever written?
That trucking business.
Trucking business.
Yeah. It was $150,000.
That's awesome. So
yeah.
So guys,
I'm trying to get more into the commercial stuff.
I was going to say, yeah, remember he does commercial as well. And there's, fun fact, there's very few people in this town that do insurance bars, and he is one of them. So he's been
do it all.
He's been Adam's guy for many years. So, but I'll let James keep the claim of reintroducing.
It all circles around Anna.
Yeah, exactly. It does. She's good people, very good people. So.
All right.
Okay. Well, anything else you want to add?
I think that is all from me.
That is it. Well, thank you so much, Brooks. And I really appreciate you coming on here.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you Thursday.
That sounds great. And we will see everybody else, hopefully Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. And I will see everybody next Monday. And hopefully Hallie will be back next Monday with me. So have a great week.
Have a good night.